All right, let's talk about experiences for a few minutes. A lot of people have memories as they awaken to galactics and extraterrestrials. They have memories of experiences they went through when they were a child or just in their past somewhere, of being on ships, of being in scenarios that are extremely scary scenarios. Um, and before we continue, I do want to say this might trigger some of you that have those experiences, but the purpose of this video is to help alleviate fear around these beings. So we have these memories. I've had them too. I was once on or in an experience with an ET on a ship, and they were walking me around after I had fully accepted and embraced them. And they were like, hey, you're going to see some things that might trigger you, that might bring up memories of things from the past, and just don't be afraid. And he was very nervous and cautious about showing me these different places because he knew I had fragments of memory from them and did not understand what was happening in those moments. And so I went and I saw medical beds. I saw tanks with all I just call it like a gooey liquid. The words DNA reconstruction always come to mind when I think of them. They reminded me of Bacta tanks from Star Wars, those big medical tanks they use. And saw various areas. I also started remembering when I was working through my fear of extraterrestrials. I woke up one day and remembered clearly being on a medical bed, being strapped down, being worked on, having all kinds of different beings around me, and having a lot of fear. There was another memory of having something done and like there being blood everywhere when they were working on me doing something. And I remember touching the back of my head and like blood being there. Very scary types of traumatic types of things. And a lot of people fear them because of these things. They say, well, they didn't give permission. They use the word abducted. I don't like that word. I like the word experience. And that is not meant to diminish anybody's experience or to diminish anything that happened. But what I've discovered and found out through my own journey and through working with clients is that the majority, and I'll be clear on that word, the majority of experiences are benevolent and have been agreed to in some way. Many of them have been agreed to on a soul level, and they've been done in that capacity because there are karmic laws, universal laws, that sort of thing. And some of those agreements were made before you came into this life. In those events, these beings wipe your memory. They will wipe your memory not to be deceptive, which is what a lot of people believe it is. They believe it's a deception and that they've been, their memory was wiped, so it must be evil, and that's not the case. They do it so that you can live free of the trauma of the memory until you're in a space of having the capacity to understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. A lot of people, when the events happen, are not awake enough to understand what is happening on a benevolent level. So you may have an operation done, you may have an implant, you may have different things occur that end up being taken as malevolent in nature when they are not. Most of them are benevolent, and we're just our perceptions because of the programming around it, the fear around it, the lack of control is a big one. Most people have a problem with not being in control of the situation, and especially when so many of them are strapped down. I even had a recent incident where I was held down for something to occur that I had agreed to, and they held me down so that they could do what they needed to do. And had I only remembered that instant, that part of it, I would have been terrified, absolutely terrified, because I wouldn't have understood what was happening. But when I stepped back and observed the events I went through when I was younger, the events I went through when I was older, and those that I go through now that I'm awake, I can step back and observe and go, oh, if you take this segment and remember that fragment, it is fearful, it is traumatic, it is a mess. Uh, if the memory blocks don't work and you remember that stuff, yes, you're going to fear them. But when you step back and understand the whole situation, you're like, actually, that was for my benefit. A lot of people have issues with implants and changes that occur after these events when actually they're a gift. And they're seen as malicious because people are like, why would that happen? Why would that, that was against my will type of thing, when in fact, when you learn to energetically work with these things, you can activate new abilities, you can utilize them. I have experienced things where I see words now. I have had a thing years ago that helped me build my telepathy, helped me in like work with it, and then got to a vibrational space where a lot of these technologies, as you vibrate higher and raise your vibration, they fall away, they disappear, or the beings come back and remove them because they're no longer necessary for your journey to help you uh, ascend on your journey. They're helping in a lot of cases. Now, it doesn't mean there aren't those experiences that are traumatic in nature. Again, I'm not trying to undermine that. I'm trying to let everybody know to step back, observe, understand what was really going on when you experienced, a being. Do you have all the details? I always liked this metaphor that Whitley Strieber used. He's an author. He wrote Contact, the book, and he created the fiction movie to Contact, which they're completely different. Contact, the book, is about his experiences with extraterrestrials, and Contact, the movie, with Jodie Foster, is about them trying to contact other beings. And he explained, I think it was him that explained it, and said that, if you take a cat to the vet, and they strap them to a table and they do work on them, the cat doesn't know it's there for its highest good. It doesn't know it's there to be fixed and helped and all that sort of thing. Now granted, let's keep energy healing out of this scenario, because for a lot of us that are waking up, we also know that the vet is actually not the highest good. Its energy healing is far better, but the intention is the highest good of the cat, to heal them, to help them, to fix a broken leg, to work on their kidneys or cancer or whatever it is. They're there for the highest good in that situation, to heal them. But they will fear it because they don't understand it. They don't have the capacity to understand what's happening. And that's the same with a lot of these extraterrestrial experiences that people have, where they're strapped to tables, where there are devices, where there are tools being used, and they can hear things going on, they can feel scraping, they're awake in the scenario and can feel the pain and everything that's happening. Those types of things are like the veterinarian. We just don't understand them, and we fear them because we're like, how could somebody do this to me? When in fact, most of the time, it's a soul contract or some other scenario that has granted permission for it to happen. And we don't have the awareness in the moment, and when we come out of it, of the why. Why did this happen? What was it for? Why did it happen? Why did I choose this? Why did they show up? Who are they? What is the overall purpose? How is this helping my journey? All that sort of thing. And then when you understand that, I have clients. I had a woman that I spoke with yesterday who have miraculous healings. They go through those events, and those events can be traumatic, but then you have miraculous healings. Healings of all kinds. I've heard of all kinds of different types of healings from different people. And if you only look at the events that occur, they can be traumatic, but you have to step back and observe them, and be willing to observe them to see the truth.